Welcome to the Diaspora. Welcome to yet another interesting episode of Diaspora Diary. My name is Kanupriya, and I'm a digital strategist by profession and an art enthusiast by passion. It's an absolute honor and privilege for me to be a part of this India at 75 Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebration by the Embassy of India in Hungary. Thanks a lot to Amrita Shergill Cultural Center and Tanuja Shankarji for providing me this opportunity. Today, I'll be sharing my thoughts on one of my favorite topics, which is the heritage of Indian art. Why is this topic my favorite? Well, Earth without art is just an isn't it? I had planned a very different introduction to this session until yesterday when something interesting happened last night. I was working on this PPT, and my 9-year-old peeped into my screen and asked me, Mama, what are you working on? This looks something very different from the regular work that you do. So I ended up telling him about that I'm working on an Indian art presentation for an event tomorrow. And then what happened was that he was very inquisitive. He kept on seeing my screen. And then during my general conversation with him, I asked him, are you aware of some famous artists or artwork that you can tell me about? So he told me, yeah, I'm aware of it. I know of Mona Lisa and the Starry Night. On one hand, I was impressed by the knowledge or the fact that he's aware of legends and their work like Leonardo da Vinci and Van Gogh. On the second hand, what struck me was that he did not know or he had no idea about artists like Jamini Roy, Amrita Shergill, Raja Ravi Verma, and more. This itself was a stark reminder. This itself was a message for me that why we need to speak about this topic more and more, why we need to speak about our own heritage of Indian art, specifically to younger generation. Speaking of heritage, how old is Indian art as per you? What do you think about it? How old is Indian art? Any guesses over there? In case if you are like me and who could associate art with brush, canvas, painting, and all of it, let me tell you a quick anecdote or a story over here. My love affair with art started ever since I was a child. I used to love painting and I was very fond of art since that age. But like most of the Indians in my generation, I also ended up taking up science, and then later on, I pursued MBA and got settled with a corporate job. While I am very happy with my corporate job, but what happened was that my secret love affair with art actually never ended. In fact, to be honest, it grew with time. I continued reading a lot about the heritage of Indian art and different art forms in India. And when I became financially independent, I traveled to remote corners, different parts of the country, which are famous for their art heritage, met local artists, tried to understand their lifestyle, how they have pursued these art form for generations now. During such pursuit only, I actually got the opportunity to learn traditional ancient art forms through some of the very local rural artists from India. The more I explored, the more I researched, I was in for surprises. When I was learning Tanjore painting, I actually thought that Tanjore is perhaps the most ancient form of art. Later on, during my search and during my research on Madhubani, I thought maybe Madhubani because it's something that dates back to Ramayana. So Madhubani is the most ancient form of art. Well, truth be told, I was in for a surprise. Art existed much, much, much before that. What you see on the screen right now, what you see right now is a picture from Bhimbetke Cave. If you see the rock art, the paintings over there, Bhimbetke Cave paintings, these are at least 10,000 years old, long before we can think of brush, pen, painting, etc., etc. People were expressing their thoughts, people were expressing visually by carving and by drawing on rocks and stones. This Bhimbetke Cave is now also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and what you see are figures. They have like a lot of drawings and fire diagrams available over there. There are figures that depict the life from Paleolithic to the medieval era over there. These rock art, the rock art of Bhimbetke, are actually the oldest petroglyphs in the world. Right? So I hope you're able to see my screen now, and I hope you can see there are drawings that are depicting the life of that era, right? From hunting to celebration to different other things. Lot of stories that are told visually through engraving, through sketching on rock in that era. And what is surprising is that they are still there, that those rock art are still existing in our life. Later on, more evidences were found through Indus Valley civilization also, where we historians were able to discover lots of sculptures, lot of art related stuff, which depicted dancing, which depicted the life in that era. So, if I have to broadly categorize, if I have to broadly divide the journey of Indian art, it will be in these four stages. It started with the prehistoric era, with the rock art, Indus Valley civilization, Vedic, Maurya, Buddhist, or Gupta art. This was before 550 CE, and it is typically known as the early Indian art part of it. Then came the middle and the late medieval part of it, which had temple paintings. If you have traveled to southern part of the country, or if you have been to Khajuraho, you know how beautiful and how exquisite our temple paintings are. So this middle and late medieval era were somewhere between 600 CE to 1300 CE. It had rich temple paintings, Chola art, Pallava, Temple of Mamallapuram, Khajuraho, Orissa, Bengal painting, and more. Then came the era of early model and colonial art, in which this was also the era of British Raj in India, in which what happened was that each kingdom has its own art form, and different type of art form gained prominence, the most important being the Mughal art part. This was the era somewhere between 1400 CE to 1800 CE. Then the current era, that is 1900 CE to present, this is the era of contemporary art. When I say contemporary art, this was the post independence era where a lot of abstract art got prominence. This is also the era where artists like Amrita Shergill, where are the artists like Tayyab Mehta, and many other such artists, Bharti Dayalji, Jamini Roy, their work gained prominence on international landscape. So this era was contemporary art era. So to sum it up, somewhere between early Indian art, middle and late medieval art, early modern and colonial art, and the contemporary art phase is what the journey span of Indian art has been ever since the research has been done. As someone has rightly said, art speaks where words fail. So the realization was that much before we knew of paper and pen, much before we knew reading or writing, we used visuals, we used art to express ourselves, to tell stories, to express the life, to narrate what the lifestyle or what the profession or what the era that time used to be. Art spoke, that time also art expressed. What you see on the left hand side is an Edekal cave art of Wayanad. Again, this is thousands of years old, somewhere around 7,000 year old history for this cave art also. Where if you go and visit that area, you will find beautiful stories just told through pictures, and those pictures are drawn as rock art over there. Fascinating, isn't it? Now, after this, would love to take you on a journey of 10 ancient Indian art forms that have survived generations. Now, why 10? There are many more, but at least let's try to have a glimpse of these 10 forms and see how different these art forms have existed in India for centuries now, and some of them are actually quite popular on the global landscape as well. Starting with Madhubani painting, it dates back to Ramayana, originated in the kingdom of Janak, Nepal, and the present day Bihar. Again, while the history, the origin of it is dates back to Ramayana, but the interesting fact of it is that it was discovered only as recent as 1934 by a historian known as William G. Archer, who was visiting Bihar after an earthquake, and he ended up finding all these paintings like somewhere lying in the mud, specifically the paintings that were done on muds and walls, and he was mesmerized. Madhubani actually became popular a lot more after this discovery. Traditionally, these paintings were done as murals, with colors made from flowers, leaves. Traditionally, these paintings depicted gods, flora, fauna, and more. So, if you have to identify a Madhubani painting, how can you do that? Here is a very simple trick for you. Madhubani painting, the easiest thing will be to observe the facial features. What you see on the left hand side of your screen is a picture, is a typical traditional Madhubani picture. If you observe the eyes are generally fish shaped and the figures have a pointed nose. Another thing is that most of the traditional Madhubani paintings have double line as borders. I hope you're able to see it on the screen right now. So this is the easiest method for you to identify a typical Madhubani. Observe the facial features and observe the borderline, and you will be able to see what it is. Next, would love to tell you about another very beautiful ancient art form, which is Warli painting. It dates back to 2500 BCE, practiced by the Warli tribe of Maharashtra. The visual narration of tribal life, that is what these paintings depicted. Again, if you think of the era, that era, what would have existed for these paintings to be created? These paintings were traditionally done with tree twigs. Yes, such fine details without any fine brush, without any fancy equipments, just with tree twigs and with rice paste, typically done on mud walls and sometimes on floors also. And in case if you are curious about how to identify a Warli painting and what is it that you would like to see, Warli painting are 2D painting, linear diagram. If you see on the left hand side, the human figure, the most common feature that you will observe is round circle for a head and inverted triangle for the body. Top triangle, second, bottom triangle made the body of the painting. So Warli painting has, even though it's a tribal art, today it's very, very popular and it has been used on different other mediums also. While again, if you go by the history, it was a monochromatic form of painting, but now there are a lot of people who have introduced the colored versions of this painting too. Then would love to tell you about another favorite art form of mine, which is Pattachitra painting. It dates back to the 5th century, originated in Odisha and West Bengal. Pattachitra literally means painting on cloth. Patta is painting and Patta is cloth and Chitra is painting. Cloth-based scroll painting traditionally used bright natural dyes, earlier done on palm leaf silk, but now it is being, of course, done on many, many materials. So these were like cloth-based scrolls which people used to draw different diagrams, and they use natural dyes and colors over there. As was the case with most of the ancient art form, even this one depicted the life of gods, goddesses, and religious epic stories of that era. This one, oh my god, this is absolutely mesmerizing to observe. Miniature painting. Dates back to the 16th century. It's a combination. This art style has a combination of Indian, Islam, and Persian art style. Now, this miniature painting, the word miniature, they are mini in sizes, but trust me, they are absolutely mighty. Mini yet mighty is how we can define a miniature painting. What you see on your screen is actually roughly a 7-inch painting. So to give a perspective, 7-inch will be a little longer than our mobile phone screen. But the brush strokes are so intricate, these paintings are full of finer details, right? Natural colors were used, and these paintings were done on small sized Wasli papers. So, in case if you would like to know a little bit about Wasli papers are handmade papers that were specifically done for miniature painting. These exist till now. In this, the paper is polished with glass and seashells. Seashells and glass actually give it a layer of little bit of shine above these paintings, making it perfect to draw finer details and making it perfect to exhibit the opulence, to exhibit the royal, rich things of the royal era that existed that time. So the size may be small, but trust me, these paintings are small wonders in many ways. After mini yet mighty, time for something around big yet beautiful, which is Cheriyal Scroll. It is just opposite. While on one hand, miniature paintings were done on very small size papers, Cheriyal Scrolls were done on big size, 40 to 50 feet at least in length kind of cloth materials over there. It themed around Indian mythology, folk life, and tradition. There's something very interesting about Scrolls. They never had one what you call as one figures depicted over there. Typically, Cheriyal scrolls consisted of stories. They depicted full story in one painting. These are 400 plus years old, practiced by Nakshi family for generations in Telangana. And I have seen some of the old form of Cheriyal scroll. I mean, without even a word written on it, you'll be able to read the whole story just through visuals. What you see on the left hand side of the screen is again a storytelling done beautifully through visuals without any text, without any word mentioned over there. Tanjore painting, the richest form of Indian art, in fact. And when I say rich, rich in literal terms also, because these were made using pure gold. It dates back to the 16th century, originated in the Tanjore district of Tamil Nadu. This traditionally used pure gold gems and embellishments. These depicted gods and goddesses in the traditional era. Modern day Tanjore painting, of course, has adapted to different new themes over there. But if you have to identify a Tanjore painting, you actually can't miss this one. This has glittering gold all over. And while these days we have moved, instead of using pure gems, we have moved to using semi-precious stones and glass paints over there. But the gold is so clear and so obvious in these paintings. They also have an embossed effect that it is very difficult for you to miss this painting. I mean, as I said, these paintings are rich in literal terms too. Another beautiful painting from the southern part of the country, which is Kalamkari painting. 3000 years old art. It derives its meaning from the word kalam. Kalamkari literally translates to, kalam means pen and kari means craftsmanship. So it literally translates to craftsmanship by pen. What happens is that, I mean, again, it has its roots in Andhra Pradesh. This was heavily done on textiles earlier, and now, of course, it is available on a lot many other mediums too. This also, like all other ancient form of art, depicted the life of gods and goddesses. But today, again, in modern world, Kalamkari has adapted and has changed its diagrams and designs to suit the taste of the newer consumers over there. Kalamkari, there are a lot of villages around Andhra Pradesh that still practices this art, even though it is 3000 years old art form. But if you look at the designs, you will be amazed to realize that such vibrant colors, such beautiful hues existed even then, just by using natural dyes and colors. That time there was no synthetic color, no artificial shades available, yet artists were able to produce such magnificent pieces of work even in that era. This one is another very, very interesting form of painting, Gond painting. This also has gained prominence internationally. In fact, it has a lot of resemblance to Aboriginal form of art from Australia. It's around 1400-year-old form of art. It originated from Madhya Pradesh. It was done earlier as part of celebration, as part of what you can call as spiritual puja, offering to Mother Earth. This was tribal form of art. Like Warli and Madhubani, even the diagram or the method to draw it was very simple. Most of the fillings were only dots and lines. They were also done using natural colors from cow dung, leaves, charcoal, etc. And sometimes, I mean, as a medium, these were also drawn on floor or walls over there. If you have to identify a gond, the easiest will be if you spot an Indian looking animal diagram or plant diagram, which are filled with lines and dots, chances are it will be a Gond painting. You can have a look at the picture on the left hand side and you will see how the detailings have been done by just lines of different varied thickness. In the modern art world, it is also called linear art painting. Another splendid and stunning form of art, which is the Kalighat painting. It dates back to the 19th century. It originated in Bengal. Traditionally, these depicted gods and goddesses and scenes from epics. This form of painting was started near Kalighat Kali temple, and in fact, this was started as souvenirs for visitors who came to the temple and wanted to carry back something over there. But then the modern day artists got so mesmerized by the beauty of this art, the way facial expressions were there, the way eyes were drawn, that this particular art actually gained a lot of prominence in last 100 years. Now, instead of just gods and goddesses, there are different other things also that are depicted through Kalighata painting in this country. Then comes the Fud painting, last but not the least in this series, Fud painting. Fud again traditionally means cloth. It dates back to 1000 plus years old. It originated in the northern part, that is the part of Rajasthan. Traditionally, these depicted battle scenes, kingdom lives, told stories of people living in that era. So, how the battles were done, what kind of kingdom people had, what kind of methods of enjoyment or method of celebration people have. There are lots and lots of Fud painting available depicting those themes from the Rajasthan thousands of years back. Traditionally, they used to use red, yellow, and orange colors. But now, of course, like many other changes in the art form, even Fud painting have gone for adapting different other colors in their newer art form. So, in case if you are like, these were the 10 paintings that we just discussed. And in case if you would like to put it all in perspective in one frame, here is what I have created, a quick collage for you. This collage is depicting one god Ganesha through all the 10 form of art that we just discussed. What I mean is, if you see from top to bottom, top left hand side, Ganesha in Madhubani style, then in Warli style, And then Pattachitra, Miniature, Cheriyal, Tanjore, Kalamkari, Gond, Kalighat Painting, and Fud style of art. I would like you to take a look at the screen and realize the richness of the different form of art that we have. One god, different forms. It's so difficult to decide which form is better than the other. If you ask me to pick up my favorite, it'll be very difficult for me. I will try, I would love to give it a try, but it's going to be very difficult for me because I love each of these art forms for its diversity, for their richness, for the uniqueness that they have. Some are done on wooden plates, some are done on fabrics, some are done using tree twigs, some are done just filled using lines, whereas some are filled using actual golds and gemstones over there. Isn't it stunning? Have a look and tell me, can you decide which one will be your favorite or which one form of art do you like more than the other? I for sure can't decide it. And are these only 10 form of arts or ancient art that are worth discussing? No, 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 no. Absolutely, absolutely not. There are many, many other forms of art that have existed since the ancient Indian part of it. Right from Kerala murals to Mysore painting to Kalamazettu, Pechwai painting, Rajputana art, and Chitara painting. There are many, many. I mean, these, I've just listed few names. If you just go into it, the depth of the heritage of our Indian art is actually mind-boggling. In the interest of time, I had only picked up those 10 which are little more popular and people internationally are aware about those form of art. But as far as the existence is concerned, there are many other art forms worth talking, worth existing. Uh, to be honest, a 20-minute session cannot do the justice to the depth and the rich heritage that Indian art has. In fact, truth be told, perhaps even a lifetime is going to be less to be understanding all form of Indian art. But what I have tried to do right now is give you a glimpse, give you an understanding of how one form of art looked different from other. What were the mediums that people used earlier? If you would have seen the pictures, most of them were done using natural organic colors. Most of them were done on floors or mud walls. Most of them did not have any kind of brush, etc. They were just carving using tree twigs or branches or other such materials over there. However, as part of revival strategy of most of the Indian art form, artists have adapted to newer mediums. Now, any of these art forms are actually available on different mediums and formats like sarees, stoles, home decor items, gifting items, and more. So next time you visit India, I'm sure you know what should be on your shopping list and what kind of art would you love to have in your collection. From sacred to sensuous, from mythology to philosophy, Indian art forms are as rich and diverse as Indian culture itself. Any one of you, I know that our diaspora has like we come from different states. Somebody's from Madhya Pradesh, somebody's from southern part of the country. We all, I'm sure, have some art stories, some art to relate to, which we call as as our own. Uh, some people, when I speak to Gond artists, they think that their folk art is the best, whereas when I speak to Madhubani artists, they think that their folk art is the best. What is the conclusion for me as somebody who loves to read about all of it is that there is so much to offer, there is so much of richness, there is so much of uniqueness that indeed one lifetime is not sufficient to understand the diversity of Indian art form. Indian art has actually come a long way from Ice Age to Instagram age. Today, in fact, art is being used. Art is being used in different newer methods and in newer ways of our life, right from therapy to healing to even solve modern day issues or problems like deforestation. I would love to share one quick one quick story about this particular deforestation case, which was covered a lot by international media also. There is a place in Bihar where a lot of trees were getting cut in the name of development. Villagers were not happy with it. So, as a campaign led by a social activist there, what they ended up doing was that they painted a lot of trees over there, a lot of trees that lined the road with Hindu gods and goddesses. Now, India being a God fearing country, we all will know that the moment there is some painting or something around God that has been put up on a product or on something, we wouldn't typically destroy it. Villagers assumed that with this effort, hopefully trees will not get cut because there are pictures of gods and goddesses over there, and their assumptions actually came true. The whole deforestation initiative got stopped because the people who were cutting the trees, they couldn't get the courage to cut trees which had God picture on it. So villagers, in a way, were successful. A lot of international media wrote about it, and in fact, this became one of the most powerful case studies about how art can create impact. Such a simple usage of art, yet so powerful, isn't it? In fact, I mean, I am no art expert by any parameter. What I have just explained or what I have just spoken right now is, say, you can say a tip of the iceberg, that too for only one form of ancient art, which is visual art. If we speak of other forms of art like performing art and literary art and many more, India has equally rich heritage when it comes to other forms of art as well. What happens is that in this session, what I've tried to do in a short duration, try to give you a glimpse of how rich our heritage of Indian art has been, and also may try to make you aware of some of the Indian art form that have survived through generations, and we all are still practicing it, and we all are still aware of it. As I said, I am no art expert by any parameter. I am somebody who is very passionate art enthusiast, who practices art in her day to day life almost daily, and who continues to read a lot about art. Yeah. So, what happens is that the more you read, the more you research, the more you realize that, oh my God, there is still so much to explore, so much to know about it. But what is interesting through all my understanding, through all my journey throughout with the Indian art form has been is that art, any form of art, visual art, performing art, literary art, any form of art, if we take into account, art actually speaks. Indeed, art speaks, art heals, and art transcends beyond borders and boundaries. So here is to Amrita Shergill Cultural Center and all types of artists, all the artists and art enthusiasts in Hungary who are keeping the legacy, the heritage of Indian artists, Indian art form alive over here. Thank you so much for your time. And once again, I apologize for the initial technical issue that happened where my presentation was not getting shared. I hope this was worth your time. Thank you, Kosuna.